Hello again. Well, I guess today's a twofer. Okay, and I wish my nail polish would stay on my fingers, but it won't. Any suggestions? Okay, so as I said in my last video, there was a teacher in my life that really affected the way I feel about myself. Well, this happened to be my first grade teacher. Let's phrase her this way. She was not a nice person, and she should have not been a teacher. I don't know any other way to phrase her is that I don't think she liked children or children with difficulties. Just to let you guys know, I am ADD, which is Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. I control that with food, not with medication. Not all kids need to be medicated with these disorders. Some, like I do, will have food triggers. Just like my son has food triggers, I have food triggers too. Mine mainly consist of preservatives and food coloring. So those are no-nos in my book. Without them, I am the same person you see right now. A little hyper, but not too awful hyper. I am also completely dyslexic. So it made it very difficult to learn how to do math, learn how to read, and a couple of other normal skills. It was even hard for me to learn to tie my shoes because of these issues. I still learned. I still did okay. But to this teacher, I was stupid. I'm not joking. I'm not kidding. This teacher, for almost the entire year I was in first grade with her, informed everyone I was stupid. She would stand me before the class. And at this time, okay, I was little. I wore like 2T clothing at 5 years old. I was little. I weighed 27 pounds when I started school. So I was one of those micro people. Still, I'm not very big. As I said, I'm 5'3", and I'm perfectly content with being 5'3". I wouldn't want to be tall. Nothing against tall people. I just think the weather's better down here. But, okay, so this teacher would stand me in front of the class and tell the class how stupid I was, how ignorant I was, how I would never amount to anything because I was so stupid. Yes, I am literally talking about a teacher pulling a student in front of a class, calling them stupid on a daily basis. And this was daily. Every day I went to school. Different times during the day, she would pull me in front of the class and make a martyr of me for the rest of the class, telling them that they don't want to be this stupid as what I was. I don't know if she didn't understand I was dyslexic or what ADD or ADHD was. I don't know if that was her problem, but she would make sure the class knew I was stupid, which got me bullied. In the classroom, outside the classroom, everywhere. I had a friend named David at the time, who was my best friend in that class, who was literally the smartest kid in that class. That boy, he's an absolute genius. Still is probably. I haven't seen him or heard from him in years. But he was my friend in that class, literally my only friend in that class. The only one that wasn't making fun of me, picking on me, or anything else. 1 second, we got a battery low, and I don't know why it's low. So, again, that should fix that. So now you guys get to see I'm really, seriously, I'm not editing anything out. I literally had to go plug in my laptop because the battery was running low. Okay, so this teacher every day would call me stupid, would call me ignorant. would make fun of me, would show my bad grades because I would write things backwards. I don't know if it's because I was annoying, because I was incredibly hyper. I couldn't sit still. I had to fidget all the time. I had to play with things. I had to play with my hair. I had to play with my clothes. I had to play with anything. This caused me issues. This caused me harm. She would scare the literal pee-pee out of me. We're gonna keep it PG because I don't want to get in any kind of trouble. But she would literally scare me into peeing my pants and stuff, and this was in first grade. I also had a bladder half the size of a normal person, and she would not allow me to go to the bathroom. A person can make a fist. That's what size their bladder should be. Mine's about half the size of a normal bladder. So I do have a very small bladder, even though they gave me medication to make it grow and stuff like that. That's as big as it got. It didn't get to a normal size bladder. So when I have to go, I really have to go like a toddler. And this is an almost 40-year-old woman saying that. But it happens. So in turn, this teacher picked on me, got me made fun of, got me bullied, and everything else, I think, for her own pleasure. She was not a good teacher. She was not anything I would ever suggest about a teacher. A teacher is supposed to care about their students. This teacher just wanted to wreck one of her students, and she did. It took a long time for anyone to convince my parents to go and see what this teacher was saying about me. They questioned her the first time. She bald-faced lied to them, which is really funny because I'm not going into her name, but it's just funny. But she lied to him. This is what started my hatred of liars. So this kept on going for almost the whole year, until my mother and grandmother, I believe, sat outside the room and listened to her do it to me with the principal. No, she did not know that they were outside the room. She had no idea. So when she started her, we're going to call it abuse, because that is literally what it was verbal abuse, which, I'm sorry people, lasts a whole lot longer than physical. Mental abuse lasts your entire life. So think what you say before you say it to someone. Think what you write about someone before you write it. But she did this, and she got caught finally. Thanks to other people around. She finally got caught. And by that time, it was too late. The damage had been done. Because I was told I was a liar. Even though I was telling the truth, I was called a liar. And it happened. Quite frequently, actually, I got called a liar when I was growing up, when I was telling the truth. So, and it was because I do have a very vivid imagination. But the thing is, I have an excellent memory. I recall things very, very well. So this is still ingrained in my head. And yes, she did get me picked on, so I had to make my own fun. I had to play by myself a lot as a kid, because the teacher had done it almost the whole year. So the year after, I was still getting picked on for things that happened the prior year that had absolutely nothing to do with that year. By the end of my first grade year, I could read, I could write, I could do math. I had issues paying attention, yes. But I had taught myself well enough to do anything a teacher asked me to do. And even though this was in the 1980s, it can still happen today. We fast forward time to my son's kindergarten. Well, my son's an adventurous little boy. So his father and I went to Texas for a weekend because I had some business to take care of down there. And I also got a tattoo while I was down there, not hiding anything. And we left him with my stepfather, not stepfather, my ex-husband's father. So he was with his papa, and they were fishing out in a field or something, and awesome. Well, my son walks back behind a donkey and gets kicked in the face. Not exaggerating. He gets kicked in the face by a donkey. It breaks his jaw in 3 spots. And so for a while he can't go to school because his jaw is too swollen and everything. We come back up. Make sure if someone is watching your child over a weekend, they have a little letter stating that is notarized that they can take your child to the hospital if necessary. I didn't know this when I was younger. Lesson learned. So they just gave him pain medication and sent him home instead of taking care of him. This was, and I am going to tell the hospital's name on this because it really did irk me. It was Parkview Hospital in El Reno, Oklahoma. They denied my son service because a parent wasn't there. A grandparent was there, but a parent wasn't there. So they let a child suffer with a broken jaw. I don't have any love for that hospital. None. That hospital has caused more trouble than it's worth in my life. So everything's okay. This is like the first couple of weeks of kindergarten. So he doesn't get to go back to school for a while his jaw is healing. That way he doesn't fall, hit his jaw, or anything else. He's kept at home, which technically he's kept at my work. Sorry, I had to take my child to work. I had to take both of my kids to work. But so when he goes back, teacher has a note stating he cannot lay on the side of his jaw that was broke. The teacher wants every child to lay the exact same direction, and that happens to be the side that his jaw was broken on. And even though she had a note stating he could not lay on that side, she would force that child to lay on that side. This teacher also would sit there and lie about my son being bad. The way we caught her was he wasn't at school one of the days that she said he was being a mess. This teacher was dumb enough not even to realize my son had not been there. It was like on a Monday, we went to go pick my son up from school, and she said on Friday that he had been horrible. Oh, so bad, and all this stuff, naming off things that there's just no way for him to do. For the simple reason, he wasn't there. He was at a doctor's appointment having his jaw looked at to make sure everything was healing correctly. So all these things that this teacher came up with, there was no way. And the Thursday before that, she had come up with things that he had done that day, and I'm like, none of these things sound like my child. I started questioning it. I started talking to the principal, trying to get him transferred out of the class. Because I had several of his friends from that class telling me that the teacher was picking on him. Well, the principal informed me that he couldn't be transferred out because it was too late in the year. And I'm looking at him, I'm going, it's kindergarten. You guys lose kids all the time. Why can't he be transferred into another class? he gave me excuses. So in turn, I found out my rights as a parent, and I pulled him out of school because they wouldn't change him. This teacher would not stop bullying him, and there was no way I was going to let my child go through the same thing I did. There was no way. So I pulled him out of that school. He did not go back to that school system. We moved shortly after. He started going to a new school. He loved that school. Teachers never had an issue out of him. He was always a great kid. I've never had any real complaints about him since then, but only that one teacher. And if I wouldn't have listened to my child and the kids around him, there was a good chance that he would have gone through the same issues I did. And that's something that's not going to happen to my kids. Neither one of them. You fast forward a little bit farther to my daughter. And this is just this year. She was having issues with a teacher. Well, I'm one of these parents. I show up to parent-teacher conferences. This is why you should go. Her math and stuff didn't make sense to me. The way she was grading and stuff and doing my daughter's grades and stuff did not click, was not logical. In fact, the math was wrong. And this teacher doesn't even use proper English. It's an English teacher. So, in turn, this teacher started using improper English to me while discussing my daughter's grades. I started correcting her English. I also started correcting her math. And ever since then, my daughter has not had any issues in that class. None. Because I was paying attention to a teacher making mistakes. And it's nothing against teachers. I have more respect for teachers than about anyone. Those and public service workers and nurses. But at the same time, we have to take everyone into account. As I've said before in prior videos, you can't judge a couple of bad cookies and lot them all together. You can't say a couple bad cops make all cops bad. You can't say a couple bad teachers make all teachers bad. There is more good than bad in this world. And the quicker we face that, the better off we'll be. Concentrate on the good in life, not on the bad. When you're sitting there looking, find the good in something. Find the good in anyone. Thanks to my first grade teacher, I am a much stronger person. I can do things that she said I'd never be able to do. So thank you, teacher from first grade. But no thank you for the issues you caused. You have to find positive things in everything negative. The negative things are what make us who we are. But at the same time, we can't let the negative overrule us. We have to do what is necessary for ourselves. So, as always, click subscribe, do whatever. If you have suggestions on content, post them below. If you guys want to know more, want more stories, just ask. I don't lie. I'll tell you about anything. As always, down below is going to be the GoFundMe to help my husband and I and my kids complete our family. And please help us. And I will keep trying to help you guys by hopefully you learning from my experiences. In my years, I've had a lot of them. So please comment below, subscribe, help us if you can with our GoFundMe. And as always, be blessed, enjoy your life, and love yourself. Now have a great rest of your day.